Okay, welcome to ETN News. We're looking at the earthquakes. This is Hawaii, and you can see how they're still coming down toward the slump. And we had a 2.3 on this side of the slump. Alright, that's not looking good for Hawaii. It just keeps going and going. Don't look like it's going to be slowing down soon. Alright, let's look at Alaska. You can see Alaska is still backing up. Now, this is one of the signs we look for. It's still backing up. Yesterday, I did an update, and right when I was loading, it was like 5 more minutes to go. Then we had the 5.7 California, which was downgraded to a 5.4, of course. But we had some large activity over here, and still do. We got a 4.5, 375.2 miles deep around Fiji. 4.7 around Fiji, 246.1 miles deep. That was just 21 miles and 6.2 miles. We had a couple more that was real deep here. And this was the only area with the deep quakes yesterday. And we had one down here at Australia. And I don't forgot what it was. But we did have an earthquake down here also. Like I said, I was reporting that, and when I was reporting that, then we got this 5.7 over here in California. Now, we looked for 3 to 5 days. You remember, it was leaving the Cascadia, 3 to 5 days. It didn't even take 2 days. This one hit, because it didn't make it on down. It hit right in this area, and around Lamont, southwest of Lamont, California. But now we got a 3.4 north of Stonewall, Oklahoma, 16.7 miles deep. And let's look down here at this. Let's get a closer look. Okay, Vancouver Island. This is on the Cascadia, 2.4, 3.0 miles deep. And on the Cascadia, a 1.8. And that one is 3.2 miles deep out from Oregon. Got a lot of explosions going on southwest of Dover, Idaho, and that one is northwest of Spokane, 2.0, Airwave, north of Airwave Heights, Washington. You know, there was a few more on here. I don't see them now. Alright, now we're starting to get activity up here east of San Francisco. 2.1 southwest of Alamo, California, 6.0 miles deep. Now, right here in this spot is where they've been, drilling, geothermal. But that's the reason we get a lot of activity here. And down here on this one, we have had 355 earthquakes. And it hasn't even went to a 24-hour period yet. Because the first quake that hit is still on here, so it hasn't been 24 hours yet. I was trying to scroll down. That was that noise you heard. But 355 earthquakes so far since we had the 5.7. And got some activity around Little Lake, Cozo Junction, small activity. Go over this way, doing all this drilling. It's okay to, if they drilled one hole and just kept getting it out of that one and stuff, but when you keep getting one after another, it can get complicating. It can start cracking, like connecting the dots. Drill a hole here, drill a hole here. It's like right here. Let's zoom in. Okay, here's our earthquakes. Here's Bakersfield. You can see right here. Now, there's so many oil wells down in this area, up in here and stuff, and I think there's some down this way. Not sure. I'd have to look into this a little deeper, but let's go look at this. Google Earth. Alright, Google Earth. Here's your oil wells. You can see the pumps. And there is hundreds to hundreds. All these little dots that you see is oil wells. All of these. California. They're everywhere. I mean, you back it up, bring it down here, and it's just, they're just everywhere. Just every so many feet, you got an oil well pumping. Now, it don't matter what scientists say. I don't go with that anymore. I used to believe them, but it's just unbelievable. They come up with so much junk, and it's all about money to make it look good, and you know, things like that. But all these oil wells, and you got Oildale, Bakersfield. Look at all this. And then on the other side, let me see, somewhere here, we got some more oil wells going on. Let me see where this is at. Okay, that's not oil wells or nothing. But this here, this is bad. Okay, I don't know what these are. Okay, it looks like some kind of power lines or something. I can't tell. But there's other places here. I seen them earlier. It's just hard to go back and find it if you don't mark it. But we have so many oil wells and things. All that drilling. Well, I mean, you know, you pour all the oil out. I mean, how did, about everything on this earth we got from nature and things like that. And when you know that nature, you get it to where you know that your vehicles, you know, when you got metal toward metal against metal and you use oil, it lubricates and everything like that. Well, oil is not put on this earth for nothing. It's not here to just be put here. It has to be for a reason, doesn't it? It's to lubricate the faults, lubricate this, lubricate that. And they claim that the lakes and the water is what lubricates the faults. That's not what does it. When you pour all the oil up out of the earth in that area, it's going to be like dry, like low. And then when it's low, you're going to get earthquakes. And you're going to get bigger earthquakes and bigger earthquakes. It's just going to keep coming. And you can see that is an oil well, oil pump. Can't deny that. And like I said, there's thousands and thousands all the way, well, hundreds and hundreds. Bound to be thousands. I mean, look at all this. It just goes for miles and miles each direction. You just keeps going. It's just too many oil wells in one area to be doing that. And it just keeps going. And all the way down this way. If you zoom in and you went down through here, it would take you an hour just to go back and forth just to see all the oil wells. I mean, just moving on just to see them. There's so many. All right. You get all this drilling, and right here's Bakersfield. And you can see the population down in here and the people. All these little bitty tiny spots are homes that people live in. People has to live in, has to survive. You take the lubrication away, it's going to be a dry fault. And when it's a dry fault, you're going to have earthquakes. And the drier it gets, the larger the activity. We don't get all this oil and vehicles and this and that to oil things together, you know, to put in there to oil everything. We get it, all of our ideas from the earth. What we see that the earth, you know, does. We get ideas from that. And that's what gave us the idea of using oil for vehicles and stuff. Because it lubricates. It's a lubrication. The earth wasn't made, I mean, it was made a certain way. And if it's there for lubrication, we need to leave it alone, you know. And the solar panels, that's not the way. What about back in the old days? They had the water mills, you know, where they had these buckets on them, the water run through them and turn them. Well, if they built dams like they do now, when, you know, they're not using them for nothing, just building them just to make money off of fishing, you know, people fishing, camping, and all that stuff, big money racket. And it's destructive building those dams. It keeps, you know, messes up a lot of stuff. The water can't evaporate like it's supposed to be to put rain in the next states for nothing. But they could fix one and have the same thing as they did back in the old days of turning that big motor, as I call it. And some people call it an engine, but it's a big motor. They could use that to turn that to make electricity. It wouldn't be as bad. It would be water made. And I used to work for a fella, well, help him out. He didn't really pay me. It was when I was younger. And out in Tennessee, Rogersville, Tennessee. And the power plant is what they called it. And it had big motors inside of it. And when the water come down through the dam, it turned the propellers and turned the motors, and it you know, made electricity for the towns and the places out there. Why not do it like that, the old-fashioned way? Why do all this drilling? Why do all these solar panels reflecting the sun back to itself and all that, and destroying the earth when there's so many easier ways of doing it? You don't even have to have turbines. You know, turbines is even harmful. What happened to the old way? Just a big motor, turn it. It's a generator. It's like an alternator on a car, except for it's huge, and it supplies electricity. Power plant. What happened to those? We wasn't having all these problems then when we had power plants and things. This is a lot of people to be worrying about. There's just too many people down here for them to be, you know, trying to make a dollar and not caring what happens to the communities and the cities and things. But this is Las Vegas. I don't know how it got over here. Got in the wrong area. But Las Vegas, that's a bad spot too. It's really bad. And down here's where we're having an earthquake activity on this side. And you notice when we get an eruption, if we get an eruption at a volcano, the earthquake usually occurs outside of that area. Like up in Alaska, if the volcano is right here, you get the earthquake down here. Like right here. They drill, when they drill so far down, and then they'll go diagonally, you know, so many thousands of feet. It probably goes right up and under this whole city and down into here by the time they're done. They probably have pipes everywhere up under here so many miles, you know, so far down. But, you know, you can't keep doing this and expect everything to turn out and be sunshine the next day. It won't work. Got to put the public safety first. Go back to the old ways. Like people wonder how come I can see these earthquakes coming. Watching the signs. What did we do back in the old days? Or our ancestors do? What did they do? They didn't have this map or weather map to look at or anything, but they knew when it was going to rain. They knew when it was going to snow. They knew when the seasons were changing. By watching the signs. Watch the signs of the earth, and you'll know everything that is going to go on with the earth if you watch it and listen and watch real close. Canada is reporting up in Alberta, reported shaking an hour and 35 minutes ago, and these are small quakes being reported on the USGS too. All these here, but over here around Boston, reported shaking an hour and 6 minutes ago, 21 minutes ago, 33.1, and 20 hours ago, 2.0. This is up in Quebec, Canada. Sepley's Quebec or something like that, south of there. And another thing is down here, well, we've had another earthquake. It might have been the one reported yesterday, I'm not sure. But right here around the Guatemala, down here on the Cocoa Plates, this is not looking good, and there's a couple of things that could occur because it's under pressure, and if either one of them occurred, it could cause a tsunami to come in. That's the reason I mentioned that yesterday. Be prepared for tsunamis down here just in case. You know, you never know, because it's got a lot of activity, which now I'm starting to see a lot of it move toward the east, so it may not come down here. If the pressure comes down and goes across another fault, then it takes off a lot of the magnitude. South America, 5.1. And not much going on this side, just 4s and upper 4s and things like that. Up this way around Alaska, 3.0 and another 3.0. But down here, that's a bad area, and around Bakersfield and places, it could turn really bad. Right here's Bakersfield. Right here's the earthquakes. And right here's all the oil wells up here. And all that. Most people don't even know they're there. But there's a whole lot more than that. If I had time, I would show you hundreds and hundreds of oil wells just in California. And right down here where the faults meet in and everything junctions out off the Garlock and stuff is a bad idea to be putting oil wells. But when they put the oil wells, that means that they got a magma flow coming through there. They got the oil coming through there. It's one of the main faults. And the Sierra Nevada mountains, this is called, if you look into it, it's called the volcanic ridge. Right on the other side, in the fault, is where they get their oil. Now, you take your oil out of your vehicle and see what happens. It'd be like having an earthquake. It'll start jarring, jumping, knocking. It will flip out. And then it'll go kaboom. And it'll lock up. Throw a rod through your block. Anyway, we had a 4.0 east-southeast of Dustin Acres, California, 5.0 miles deep. This was northwest of the 5.7, and we're still having activity, so we're over 355 now, more than 355. Down through here, it's not looking good. It's got enough activity. It's just we should have a little bit larger activity in here. This is a 2.1 right here. It's the biggest quake down here. We should have a little more than this. And let's hope that none of that releases a lot of pressure and comes down this way, because instead of going down to San Andreas and hitting the, let me show you here, Raleigh seismic zone, get in there. Okay, instead of going down the Raleigh seismic zone, it'll go over here on the San Jacinto, because all that activity's been going down through here. And that's the reason around Salton City's been getting hit pretty hard with earthquake activity. It's because it's trying to come down this way. Something is blocking this fault. And if it's been doing that for a few years now, and you know we've been following that if you've been with me. And if this fault breaks loose all at once, it could cause an earthquake anywhere up through here to hit hard, because all the activity would try to go down that fault when it's been collapsed. And when it does that, it'll be too skinny, fault to smaller, where it's been sitting there so long and not having any activity. It could cause a very large quake. But this here, let's hope we don't get a foreshock. The foreshock would be bigger than the 5.7. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And let's hope they start wising up around here, around there. Calaveras fault zone, northern section. That's where we got this earthquake, around Alamo. Because they've already downgraded that to a 2.1. Look how far they're downgrading the quakes. 5.7 to a 5.4. Now they're down, I forgot what that was. Showed you a moment ago, but that now they downgraded it to a 2.1. It was way bigger than that. And a 2.1 out here, San Andreas Fault, out from Santa Rosa, California. Alright, you see what's going on, and you see the activity. And now, even though this is going on, it looks like we may have another one building. I mean, I don't want to say that, but it looks like we're having another one building. Or this hasn't all the way released, because when we was looking at Alaska up here, it's still backed up. And we're still backed up going up through California and places with the small activity, 2.5s and over and under, all of them. It's all backing up. So if it backs up, that means it, and these large quakes over here, backing up on this side, and something going on with the cocoa plates. Anything could happen down through here. Just be prepared for tsunamis or anything. Be ready for it just in case. Alright, I'll see you all in the next updates. Everybody stay safe, and we'll be watching.